like pulling his pants up like all the way and like walking over like big boot status and just being like, howdy, howdy.
Welcome back to Seeker and Confessor, a Sword of Truth podcast. My name's Lauren.
And I'm Frank.
And today we are going to be discussing Chapter 46 of Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind.
Yes, we are. So, Lauren, how'd you feel about this chapter here? Was this a personal favorite of yours?
I did not
You weren't having a great time here?
this chapter. I did not like almost any part of this chapter.
I can understand why you might feel that way.
We were on a good run. I think we really liked the last chapter. And then the chapters before that were like a mixed bag, but there was a lot of stuff we liked.
I agree.
I don't know how much of this I liked.
Well, let's do the checklist. Intense BDSM?
No.
Oh, okay. We missed that one. Sensical plot?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
The seeker seeking in a way that makes sense according to his search for truth?
No. Don't think so.
Wait. Cloud talk?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, wait. That stays up.
Wait, that's a bad thing, though, especially for you.
I know.
Clouds
Cloud talk? Yeah.
or a plot point. I hated this chapter. It's got to go down as one of my most hated.
It's pretty toilet water. It needed like a team of editors to come in and just slash most of it.
And like I came in
I know you were on a good
like,
wind.
I was like
you were
wow, maybe the ending we're just gonna maybe this is where he really thrives. We're just gonna slide right on into
sail right. Yeah,
no.
Like Scarlet in a thunderstorm, we smacked our necks right onto a mountainside, a rock in a cloud, and broke our neck. So here we go.
Yeah. Anything? I don't know if we have anything else to discuss before we get right into it. It is like I think there's a decent amount to go through. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was just dookie all around. Just big poop.
The poopy from the cave last chapter slid right on out.
Yep.
Followed us. Got all. You brought up some. What did you bring up when they were at the People's Palace in the little prayer squares? You said something about there being poopy in the water.
Did I?
Yeah, and I was like upset. I was like, "Oh, the fish." Don't you remember? But why would you have said that?
I don't remember saying that, so I'm gonna say I didn't. If you want to,
but this chapter is that.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
Last chapter
was
in the
water.
A beautiful meditation square. That Poopy came out.
Poopy was involved in the last chapter, but this is Poopy. Is that what you're trying to get at?
The Poopy from last chapter became the whole next chapter.
Wow, that's some metaphysical shit, Terry. You rock.
That's crazy. Okay.
All right, hold on. Let's roll it back and start chapter 46, all right?
We were going forward.
I don't have a forward DJ noise.
Well, so then because of that sound effect, we'll go back to chapter 45.
Okay.
When we left them off
I knew.
In the cave with the egg, the very, very secret, powerful cave that we're not sure why, but Darknarol can't get there.
Yeah.
And, a Scarlet. Oh, boo-hoo, I'm so sorry. Beautiful Seeker man, you're my king now. I will fly you around to apologize for whatever.
Yeah.
So
True trash.
We're meeting them towards the end of the day now after they looked around. Richard's exhausted. They keep swooping down to the ground looking for every time they see people, and it's never the crew.
Because, believe it or not the best method to find people.
Well, this is as good as it's going to get right now. What else is he going to do?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just, it's boring to read this. It's
definitely boring. Well, whatever. He didn't make us go through too much of it.
We did a whole day.
Maybe more than we needed to.
We did a whole page of a 10-page chapter not finding anyone and like not really saying much about it.
I don't really know what. I don't know. So yeah, during this, Scarlet just like randomly swoops down and eats a deer, and Richard's like, "Ooh, now I'm really afraid of her." I don't think what's wrong with that. Now you're just okay. I hated the chapter 2, but I feel like now you're like,
it's because all these things work in proper order, which is what editing is for.
It's true.
We needed an editor here.
This chapter needed an editor.
The swooping down and stealing the thing, like that could have happened earlier. Different order. Just different order. This chapter was just like paragraph about Richard's internal struggle, paragraph about wasting a fucking ton of time doing nothing, paragraph about dragons are cool. And it's like, I agree with all three of those things, probably.
They're all happening at once.
Yeah, but there's just a good way to write it, and then there's this way.
Yeah, this is just like the least of my problems.
Yeah, well.
She eats the deer. He's sad. The sun's setting. And he's like, oh, we're going to have to go back to the egg. Darn. They get back to the cave. She has the deer with her. And then she's like, I guess I can let you have some. You're such a puny little man. It's not like you can eat much anyway.
Yeah.
Which, that's been her characterization.
Except
Glad
when
she's
it's
back
not,
at
but
it.
yeah.
I prefer this to
Me too.
groveling Scarlet.
Yeah.
And then Richard's like, will you please cook it for me? Because I can't eat raw meat. And then she does it. And then they're eating. And she's like, well, what are you going to do if we can't find your friends? And he just says, we better find them. That's all. Then she mentions they only have 4 more days until the first day of winter. And she says it's better for a dragon to die than be ruled, right?
Which, crazy to say after not dying and being ruled.
Right, but then Richard kind of...
I know.
I don't know. I was a little confused by this back and forth. He says, if choosing for yourself, maybe, but what of others? You chose to be ruled to save your egg, to give it a chance at life. I'm not really sure what we're even, like, what
the dragon would not have said this, having just very recently been in denture servitude to Dark and Rahl about her egg.
Right,
so she would never have uttered that.
What exactly? Why did she say it at this point?
So that Richard could make that point.
But
that
why
you would do it?
No, but
for
I'm
someone
trying.
else.
So she says there's only 4 more days of winter left. Why say that right after? What's the connection?
Because she's saying maybe kill yourself before Dark and Rahl takes over if you can't figure this out.
That's what she's saying?
I think so.
Which, okay. I think it's also interesting, though, because previously when he was, trying to get her to help him, I was annoyed because he, never brought up that, what was going to happen at the end. He never was like, oh, well, either your egg's going to die or you and your egg are going to be permanently ruled.
Yeah.
I think now would be a great opportunity to be like, well, bitch, keep helping me, because if that's how you feel... Both of those options are on the table, and they're both bad.
We'll get into what magic can affect dragons or not later, but, is the boxes of Orden just for humans?
No, because he's all of reality.
Yeah, all life, right? All life, that's the power over life. So why isn't everything more concerned?
Why? But why is he not bringing it?
Why are the sprites not coming out? Why is there not a team of dragons hell firing?
But that's my point. I guess I'm like, bring this up to her and be like, you got anyone else? We can get on board since you guys hate being ruled. You're about to be ruled 24/7 permanently.
If anyone knows about the powers of Orden, it's probably the ancient dragons.
Do you have any dragons nearby who could look for these people, go fuck up the people's palace? Just literally anything, because you will be ruled for all eternity, not.
It would have been a boring Aragon-ass plot if Richard did one nice thing for this dragon and then she was like, I'll take you to the Dragon Conclave and plead your case and we'll go look for the box together. But
she doesn't need to do it because Richard did a nice thing. She needs to do it because Richard told her the consequence of not doing it.
Why are they unaware of the consequences?
So, but I think it's a weird thing to say when you're like, yeah, that's what's going to happen though. Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really... I was like, I don't know what I was supposed to get out of that
The
exchange.
lack of awareness that everyone has about their fate. It seems like Richard, Zed, and Kaelin, and by proxy Chase, are the other people actually, trying to do something here?
Yeah, but is it because nobody else cares, no one believes it, or what? Because I'm like, Zed...
So all of the Westlands unaware that magic is a thing, but they're about to get zapped.
Yeah, fine.
All of the Midlands, I guess, raised. But what? Queen Milena, who R.I.P., but pre this, just totally unaware.
I don't know. I just think, especially like the powerful magical beings might care.
Yeah.
If you tell them.
But you know what? I guess, like the Lord of the Rings, people weren't aware of the ring. And it is that powerful, right? So maybe the boxes of Odin are just like that.
Yeah, but Gandalf was like getting people powerful kingdoms and
sure.
You know,
but he had to like tell them about it. Like, just so you know.
I understand that.
I'm
I'm not saying they don't have to tell anyone. Why are they? Here's a great opportunity to spread the word among the powerful. Do it.
Well, you got 4 days. You know, like it's not like you fucked
I'm
up.
saying that she
Zed's
can,
going around sneaking like a ninja, trying to like find books.
She can
go
fly.
fucking talk to the kings and queens of the land.
That she can fly. And for all I know, there's a dragon like 1 mile up the block. Like, I don't.
There's gotta be.
Where are they? But listen, fine. If he brought it up and she was like, "Sorry, actually, the next closest dragon is like a week away." I get it. But
go to Shadrin's cave and go parlay with that tentacle monster.
That was
like,
of
hey,
the psyche. Dude. I don't know if.
Hey, dude, do you want to get ruled by Dark and Raw? I know you like poking around in holes, but like.
I don't know. I just think we could have gotten the dragons involved in some capacity.
Absolutely. No, we got one Shar who suicide bombed Kaelin through.
Did the other Night Wisps know?
They have to know. They're all like psychically linked, right? Like Shar left on an important pilgrimage.
None of them wanted to help.
That's all they could do. They can give up one Shar.
Where are they?
They're going to disappear into the mist. I don't know. Where is anything else? This is just a big enough
threat that, like, you all should kind of care. And I feel like they kind of touched on being, like, a lot of people don't believe the boxes actually do anything. I'm like, but that's, like, humans. That's not...
Yeah. That's not the ethereal creatures that live in every nook and cranny of the Midlands, according to you. But it's really just Gars. And then they're going away soon, too. Like...
Where to? I don't know.
Terry took, like... He took like a copy paste, like generic ass fantasy concept world, and then slowly was like, maybe this is grimdark? Maybe it's just people? Wait, they could fast travel though, because it's boring to watch them walk.
Which is kind of weird, because like you also get the sense that he loves watching them walk.
Good point.
Right.
I kind of like watching them walk, honestly.
Sometimes, yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So Richard reflects on if he can't find everybody, he might just have to go back to Dark and Raw and help him open the correct box, so that way everyone doesn't die, and he can make sure that Kaelin doesn't get moored Sith for the rest of her life, right?
I'm sitting here saying two things.
Well, I have two. I have one thing, but yeah, let's see if one of mine is one of yours.
Even if we believe Dark and Raw that he's not going to moored Sith the shit out of Kaelin, which is silly. First off, once Dark and Raw controls all life, I assume he has no need for moored Sith anymore, right? You don't need...
We talked about this. We get the sense that Dark and Raw is very attached to, like, these symbols and stuff. He also doesn't need a child, and he still wants one. He wants a powerful boy. He, like, clearly likes these things. He plans to keep them kind of online.
Okay, so he's like, I'm halfway to, like, my perfect world already.
Yes.
And I'm just going to keep it going.
For some reason, yes.
You know, once I get this power up, I'm keeping it all the same. I'm just expanding.
He's just like adding orgasm fruit.
Yeah, listen.
And that's it.
So, I mean, so he's in line with me. So, like, Dahara. Like, I don't know. Whatever the salute
Okay,
would
keep
be.
going. What's the second one?
Yeah, I actually forgot now. Hold on.
Okay. You said, even if we believe Dark and Raw is going to not lie about torturing Kaelin.
Yeah, so, even if we believe that, right? Dark and Raw is a crazy man.
Yeah,
like, crazy. This guy's nuts. We're going to give him power over all life.
I know.
We're going to help him towards that goal.
Just
to protect
to save Kaelin a little
bit of pain.
Who's to say she's not even going to have way more than whatever this proposed amount is in the end if you let this happen? And my point relates to your point, which is to say these people absolutely love the idea of unaliving. They want to unalive themselves constantly. With it. They're like, if I can die, if we can die, and things are bad, you might as well die. That's their first thing that they jump to mentally.
Can we get out of this by just jumping off a building?
But instead, I don't know. I'm like, if anything, I would expect Richard to be like, I'm going to go back to help Dark and Raw, but I'm actually going to get him to open the death box because that is the better alternative to everybody.
It's like I feel like Terry's not having him think that here, because that is what he ends up doing, right?
Oh, I don't know what he does.
Oh, well, spoiler, he convinces him to open the wrong box through...
But the right box, meaning the Dark and Rahl dies box.
Correct. The wrong box for Dark and Rahl. He convinces him that's the good box.
No, of course, but I am saying why... I'm just saying, for characters that we have set the precedent, are obsessed with being like, if the alternative is bad torture... definitely die. Like, they love that, even for things that are barely torture. Just Kaylin being like, I'm sad because you wanted to fuck a girl. I don't know. I'll die.
I'll die. Might as well die. I guess I'll die.
Why did she actually want to die then?
What, when he was tying her up in the woods? Daddy doming in the woods?
Why would she like that?
We have just read this book, and
What?
Oh, it was because Shota's prophecy that she's going to be the one to kill or touch Richard.
Fine, okay, so the fact that Kaylin even thought, maybe I'll kill this guy I just met, I might as well die. We're not just defaulting to, instead of letting Dark and Rahl rule and torture all existence, maybe, and there's another death option, nobody's going mentally there, even though that's all they do. For every other problem.
I know. Yeah.
I would consider it in this circumstance.
Yeah, I'd be like, he's opening the right box today. He's going to take over. I'd be like, do I get out now? I
might just, especially when like the Kaylin torture thing's on the table.
Yeah.
I think I would be like, we should all probably just die. I just think it's weird. They love that idea. Oh. And finally.
What if you can't die? What if he could just pull everyone back from the underworld?
If he picks the everyone dies box, everyone dies, including him. There's 3 boxes.
That box, yes. Sure. The nuke box. Yeah, all right.
What do you think I'm talking about?
The him winning box.
No, I'm saying the him...
because Dark and Rahl is basically saying, I will either kill everyone or I will win. I don't think Richard would pick that option.
Why not? If the option is Kaylin might be tortured forever and she might never die in that one... Because Dark and Rahl can keep her alive forever. You don't think... These people are trying to kill themselves constantly.
Themselves. But like Richard always says, hurting someone else is the real sin. So they can't think about it like that. Because that makes them morally gray. And they need to be stalwarts of morality.
But letting her get tortured indefinitely and perhaps be immortally... tortured is doing harm to Kaylin.
These are questions Richard could have considered if Richard was making any sense at this point, but he's not. He is specifically not focused on these questions because Terry didn't even think of these things because he didn't spend enough time with these concepts and he didn't have an editor paring this stuff down.
It's weird to me that it's not on the table as a thought, again, given their passion for unaliving, but Scarlett's bringing it up, which is almost like bringing it to mind, right? Like, it's so odd. I keep thinking
Wizard's first rule.
That's not Wizard's first rule.
Wizard's first rule. He doesn't want to think about it because he's stupid.
Anyway, oh my god, we gotta move on.
Yeah, we really do.
And so then he's like thinking about Shota and he's like, oh my god, it's so depressing to think about how I might even help Dark and Rahl to save Kaylin. Like, maybe I am such a bad person actually in the end that I would even consider that, and Shota was right and they should kill me. It was just to bring back Shota's prophecy, I think, so that when later...
100%. The only thing I'll give him right now for not thinking of those things is he is delusionally tired because he has not slept since the day before killing Denna at this point.
Okay, but the fact that he was... Like, okay, I feel you, but also... My dude was like popping out of that cave, chuckling about Birdman blowing that whistle.
That's different. That is bird magic.
I don't know. He's not being characterized consistently like a delusional.
Whenever Richard hits mortal limits, he just goes, I have a headache. I'm tired, but I will seek her on. And then at some point he goes to sleep. But
it's not giving that. How he's being written at this point.
Not at all.
I think we're just glossing over the fact that he's that tired. So he thinks about Kaylin and he falls asleep. So he slept now, okay?
Yes, I know.
Let's
refreshed.
Tomorrow. So around midday the next day, they're flying around and they see them. They spot Kaylin, Zed, and Chase.
Holy shit.
And Richard and Scarlett fly on down to them. And everything about this absolutely sucks.
It's stupid.
Because we know
dumb.
about the enemy web. And this isn't a case where, the reader knows about the enemy web and we know Richard doesn't know, so we have anxiety on his behalf. No.
Would've been
There's
fine.
no reason Richard doesn't think about the enemy web.
He hasn't thought about it once since he left Darkenrawl's chambers, and Darkenrawl spent like 3 pages explaining the intricacies of this web. And Richard's just like, whatever about your web. I'm not even going to think of your web. I'm going to run right to my allies.
Oh,
wait.
Oh my god.
They might... The enemy... No, nothing. He doesn't think about it once. And here it is.
This is weak as all hell. There is zero reason this wouldn't come to mind.
No. And like you said, would have been fine if Darkenrawl did it covertly.
Yeah.
And then when Richard leaves, he like talks to Dem and Nass about how I've sabotaged. Oh, what if he leaves, sir? It's like, I have no worry about that. I've cast an enemy web on him. Blah, blah, blah.
I was like, why wouldn't he have done that? And I was like, the only reason is because he wanted the thing with Michael to happen.
The twist with Michael.
The reveal.
Why? There's so many ways to write this that don't involve an enemy web at all.
I know.
We don't need a fucking enemy web. We don't need a web that is just a plot device magic. Like, it's so stupid.
I hate the enemy
and
web.
even if you were gonna do it, because like I can even think of an interesting way to use an enemy web.
Sure.
Like, this could be fun.
There's so many things. Number one, did they specify that he was gonna be Darkenrawl? I don't feel like that.
I don't feel like it was 100%. They'll see you as like.
What was the wording?
It's like they'll see you. You will look to your allies like how people perceive me, but not like you literally will look like Darkenrawl.
I was a little shook that he literally was Darkenrawl.
And like, we gotta go through this, but I have so many questions about like, why does Zed, Kaylin, and Chase suddenly have an IQ of 43? Like, together. What's happening? So you're telling me, all right, so let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Scarlet swoops down, and Richard's just like, my friends, and he's like running over. But then Terry has a clever line of, quote, Richard watched the ground so he wouldn't trip over roots.
Why was that in there?
Because he's running downhill. There's some roots.
Who cares?
Why is there roots in the Daharan desert? Whatever. So we're running downhill because of roots. We're looking. And then when we look up, a ball of wizard's fires coming at us. Showed us prophecy is coming true.
There was a little foreshadowing of how they were responding to him before he ran and looked for the roots.
Sure.
Chase is holding a mace out.
Sure.
Right? So we're,
A man's landing on a dragon. Friend or foe, I'm picking my mace up.
And it's Darkenrawl's dragon. And like, I don't know. Like, was I the reader supposed to not remember the enemy web? Because of course I do. And I felt like it was like being written.
What do you mean? Like, that's not how books work. Was the reader not supposed to remember something you spent 3 pages explaining?
I guess it
was like within 100 pages.
I guess we're just supposed to be having anxiety on his behalf, even though, again, that would work if he didn't know. And I just keep going, why don't you remember this? Why don't you remember this?
Why don't you remember it? Why don't you think about it?
It's ridiculous for him not to remember it in general, but the second he lands and they start acting weird, that should be the first thing that pops up in his
100%,
memory. And the fact that it
100%.
goes on as long as it does is crazy.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you're gonna have like a dumb barbarian character, like kind of ignore this sort of magical stuff and then be like, what's happening? It's still dumb. But this man is supposed to be the smartest, most deductive man in the universe.
Yeah.
He can figure it all out, the truth. Well, the first step of truth is some guy says, step 1, you have this condition on you. And he goes, do I? You do! And look, fireball.
He doesn't even say, do I? He just goes, like, he just dissociated and was just
he threw the paper out. I don't want to look at that.
I didn't take that in at all. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
He's done with magic, by the way.
Yeah, no, but like this, like you said, being like, Richard's supposed to be so smart and he just like randomly will be. But like in this chapter between this and everything with Michael, you're like, you actually are the stupidest person in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
And then I know at the end of the chapter, he's like, I really am the dumbest person. I'm like, you are!
But, like, that feels like a contrivance. We'll get there.
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
know.
Convenient. But, all right, so Wizard's Fire.
What was Zed doing? That is a quote.
He froze in surprise. What was Zed doing? That's not, first off, that's not what you think internally, right? You go, oh, fuck. That's your thought. Not, what was that wily old wizard up to over there shooting me with his gun?
Well, I thought...
It's like Chase is loading a turret and just like... and like the mortars go, what is Chase doing? There's a bomb coming at you, my guy. Duck and run. You don't have time to go, huh? Is this a plan, you think?
Oh, God. Well, it's blue and yellow flames. I don't know if we care about things like that, but I just thought I'd mention it. Richard immediately does his sword blockade move that he learned from Shota. Yeah. And
presses like B special and just like...
Are you picturing it? Is it that way? I don't know why I'm picturing it this way. But...
Like that? Well, so right hand.
I'm
assuming he's right-handed.
Was it vertical?
And he grabs the tip. So it's either he said he used it like a shield, so that's why I'm thinking it's like this.
I don't know. Who cares,
but
really?
It doesn't matter. They're both effective, probably.
I thought it was funny because I remember Shota was like, make sure you practice that. I was like, did he practice it? I don't think so.
What do you mean, make sure you practice that?
I don't know.
Sam, what are you doing?
Yeah, so wrath took him at the thought of Zed betraying him. Whatever. Zed, what are you doing? It's me, Richard. That's what he's yelling.
Okay, so now I have to interject. I'm sorry. So the anger of the sword's coming through him. Wrath took him at the thought of Zed betraying him. It couldn't be Zed. Those are the quotes, right? So those two things, those go counter to each other, right? Wrath took him. It couldn't be Zed. So he's doubting his own wrath, right?
Right, because he's holding the sword.
So now my question.
Yeah.
The sword magic is very particular about what the fuck you believe. Is it not?
Yes.
So he couldn't cut down a tiny little tree with the sword.
Right.
Because he knew that the tree was not evil, right?
Yeah.
So now he doesn't believe that Zed's evil.
I think he's not sure. He's like unsure. But that's my problem with all of
enough.
this.
Your unsureness is like, I mean, I guess so then.
But he didn't send it back or anything. He just protected himself.
Which I guess you can do with the sword magic, even if you're conflicted.
I think if he tried to like attack Zed right now, maybe
if he tried to dodgeball it back at him.
Yeah, but like, so that's my problem with all of this magic is like so many things are like this. Where it's like very black and white of like, if you don't believe it, your sword will be stopped and you can't do it. If you don't, or if you do believe it, whatever. Yeah. And I'm just like, well, what if you're just of two minds? What if it's like literally 50-50? I'm so enraged and terrified that Zed betrayed me, but also I really can't believe it's Zed. Which one wins?
Which one wins? And then like, why does your power just kind of still work the same way? Either way. If you had 100% conviction right now, would the fireball kill Zed? If he really didn't believe it and like he thought maybe he should die, would the fireball go through the block?
I'm wondering, I'm like, okay. So if you have 100% conviction, I get that. Fine, it works. But I'm like, does it stop if you have 99% conviction and 1% doubt?
I don't know. Yes, when it will be plot relevant.
I think you really could barely ever use the sword. How often, Richard, are you 100% sure? Sometimes. Once in a while.
100% sure he can't forgive that bitch Candace. No, it's constant.
He's feeling so betrayed because he thinks that Zed is doing this out of hating him, betraying. He thinks Zed thinks it's Richard and is just trying to kill Richard, which doesn't really make sense because like Kaylin and Chase are there as well. And do you think all of them betrayed you?
My irritation too is that not only he obviously never considers Michael, and he should have. But whatever, we'll get to that.
You know, it's only he only tried to rape some woman in front of you. But
immediately upon seeing her.
Immediately.
My bigger problem in question is like he never even considers Chase.
I know.
And I'm like, it's like he's like a non-entity.
Yeah, I don't.
Couldn't Kaylin have touched you and Zed shot fire at you for other valid reasons that are not betrayal, and then someone else betrayed you? Like he doesn't even. He's not even open to that possibility.
Know.
And it's like, if you wanted to cut that out as an author, for us, the reader, to think that, you needed to be more specific about things.
I think he's really locked in on this idea of Richard's so fearful of this outcome that it's like blinding him to other options.
That's the first rule.
I know.
Wizard's first rule.
So like, I think that's why this is happening. We are supposed to be like, Richard is being so stupid because he's getting Wizard First ruled all over the place in some way. I don't know.
Not a good place to be.
Him not thinking about the enemy web at this point, criminal. So,
yeah.
Whatever. He dispels the wizard fire. Chase and Zed look pissed. Zed pulls Kaylin behind him protectively. Even if somebody hadn't explicitly told me I had an enemy web on me, I think at this point, my brain, as in a magical world, would go, oh, they don't think it's me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So then, as a wizard of the First Order, what's going on with Zed right now? Why is this man not able to think at all?
Why are you... Well, okay. Do you think it's that crazy? This could be Dark and Raw.
You haven't seen Dark and Raw this whole time, other than, like, in the distance. Dark and Raw rolled up to your squad.
I don't know that I agree. Because...
babbling in another language.
Listen. As it progresses, I begin to agree with you. But right at the beginning...
Sure, no. Shoot the fireball. But
okay, right now, all that's happened is he landed on the dragon, got off, and approached them. So
has the Sword of Truth. Do they see that?
Yes, but they think that...
he took it from Richard?
Yeah, because they know Richard's been there and maybe Richard's dead. And of course, Dark and Raw would take the Sword of Truth, right?
Would he?
Yeah.
He could have had it at any point.
Why are you saying that?
Because he had Richard shackled up in his house for about a month.
I don't know. How does it work?
You just take it. I think you can. I think Dark and Raw can.
I don't know.
He's opening boxes with his mind.
It doesn't seem that crazy to think he might want it. If Richard died, he might be
so let's keep going. And then my question about... yeah.
I think he's just thinking, Dark and Raw's looking for the last box. They are so confident Michael could never have given it to him, whatever. So they're like, he really needs that box. He's looking here for it because they think he's in a panic. He's going to die in 4 days. And they think they're like winning. And they're like, he came here to find it.
That's so outrageous. You're in his country. He doesn't have an army with him. He just soloed up. I
don't know why he would have come alone.
He solo boloed, rolled up to the, one of the best wizards who killed his dad and the Mother Confessor and Chase, who's the most capable human alive. And he just was like, and none of his poise, flailing and speaking like hi to Haran. It's crazy. This whole scene is stupid.
It is stupid. I think they would be like a little more suspicious. I also think Richard could have done a lot more to he could have made Dark and Raw so bizarre to have made them question. I just keep thinking, I'm like, just tap dance,
pull your pants down and poop on the ground. Dark and Raw surely wouldn't do that. Just start pooping,
Enough poop. Enough poop.
Fair enough.
No, I just was you could be acting so weird. I think I would be coming up to him.
Michael style.
I don't know. I just think you could have acted way more out of character.
Easy.
Everything he did conveniently was maybe Dark and Raw would do that because he's just being extremely aggressive the whole time.
Yeah, I guess. And none of these people have probably hung out with Dark and Raw. So
they don't know what he's like.
They don't know what he's like. Yeah.
I'm not totally I can believe that maybe they thought it was him.
All right.
He does act a bit weird.
For a bit.
And you know what? I'm putting the blame on Richard. He could have acted weirder.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even remember the enemy was. So he didn't plan.
But at some point he does. And he could have come up with that in the moment.
Yeah.
So whatever. He's saying, what's the matter with you three? This is Richard. What's the matter with you three? What are you doing here? I told you not to come after me. Dark and Raw sent men to capture you. You must turn back. You must turn back. Zed asks Kaylin if she knows what he's saying. She says, no, it's hi to Haran. I don't speak that. And then that's when it finally hits him. Oh.
Hi to Haran.
So yeah, finally he's clued in. Oh my god. The enemy web's on me.
Yep.
And then they thought he was their worst enemy. They thought he was Dark and Raw. Do you always see the person as your worst enemy?
I think so. And that just happens to be Dark and Raw for these people.
Or is it relevant in terms of how much you like somebody makes them...
I don't know.
a more enemy or a less
I think it's,
enemy.
if you're loyal to Dark and Raw, you just see Richard. If you're not loyal to Dark and Raw, you see your worst enemy, who frequently is Dark and Raw. I don't know.
But also, once again, what is...
Like, who would I see?
That's what I'm saying.
It's
What
like
is
a big
this
spider? Like, what?
objective standard of worst enemy? As if that's like a category in like the universe that objectively exists.
Yeah.
Like, I could like get into the source code of the universe and they'd be like, we have one there for you.
It seems like, yeah, your worst enemy is
What? Like,
673 green. Yep. Generate.
like, what do you mean worst enemy?
I don't know.
What if they knew Jagang at this point? Who's showing up? How is it deciding which one you hate more? I don't know.
It's like a hybrid. It's like a half blonde, half bald, like dream death wizard.
That's what I
don't
mean.
know.
Like, so if this spell is to function, yeah, it comes to me. Who the fuck am I seeing?
It's just Satan. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is this?
I don't know.
I just don't get it. It's such a dumb idea.
It's a really tight concept, the enemy web, but
Yeah.
yeah.
God, I just have so many problems.
Yeah.
Richard realizes if Kaylin is the one who betrayed him, not Zed, then she will be able to see... What? She will be able to see him as Richard right now. So I'll say that again. Richard... No.
What?
Oh, I thought you were doing it again. So right, Richard's thinking...
What? Just go.
What is this?
Just go.
If Kaylin is the one who betrayed him, not Zed, then right now she should see him as Richard, not Dark and Raw, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
So.
Are you faithful or a traitor?
Yeah, if you guys need a good reality show, Traitors
Traders is peak.
real fun. So here's my thought. Here's my breakdown of this whole part that makes no sense to me. Kaylin already made the comment that she's acting fearful of him the same way Zed and Chase are, right?
Yep.
He seems totally bought into the idea that Chase thinks he's Dark and Raw. All of them are acting equal, right? In terms of thinking that. She's saying he's speaking high to Harin,
Yeah.
right? So then the only two options are that Kaylin either actually thinks it's Dark and Raw because she's innocent,
Yep.
or she's pretending to think he's Dark and Raw to keep the ruse up.
Of course. Yeah.
In which case, nothing Richard is about to do will inform him of which one it is.
Well, I guess he's looking for like subtle clues of
But
her
why
recognition.
also not think that of Zed, right?
Well, Zed shot a fireball at him immediately.
If Richard, I guess so.
If Kaylin sees Richard over there and Zed shoots a fireball
But
at
how
him,
would nobody said, "Oh my God, it's Dark and Raw"? So how would Kaylin even know to be pretending that he's Dark and Raw in this moment?
she wouldn't. That's why he's like, oh, she'll reveal herself.
But no, she won't, because she obviously would. No, it doesn't make sense. If she didn't know to pretend, if she was like, I don't know that they're seeing Dark and Raw right now, how would she know to say he's speaking high to Harin?
I know, that would be absurd, right?
I'm saying in Richard's...
Zed says, what is he saying? And Kaylin goes, I don't know, it's high to Harin. So
Yeah.
that invalidates this whole next scene.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
It
Richard's
doesn't-
just being dumb. He's just walking up and being like, someone's got to prove it to me.
I guess I'm just like, right now so we're counting Zed out because we're saying he threw the fireball immediately and he wouldn't have known that he's supposed to look like Dark and Raw, so he wouldn't have done that.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. But Kaylin, equally so, would have no idea they're seeing Dark and Raw or anything. Like, she wouldn't know to play along being like, yeah,
She'd
it's
have to
high
be
to
so
Harin.
quick for like Zed to be like, what is he saying? And like, it's a foreign language. It's a wizard web. I figured it out. And
Right, like, how would she even know to do that? Anyway.
she wouldn't. So, all right, automatically, all three of them under the web because they're not the traitors, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what does that mean?
But now we got to investigate it further.
He's staring at her and he walks towards her and she looks scared. So again, either we're somehow convinced she is figured this all out really quick and just
Yep.
playing this game, whatever. And so Zed tries to stay between them, but Richard pushes him out of the way, which again is a weird way to approach this because you have to be thinking now in terms of like, okay, everything I do right now is
amplified.
And
like
is showing that is what Dark and Rahl is doing to them. And I want to show them that I'm not Dark and Rahl. So acting like Dark and Rahl right now, aggressively, is not a good idea.
he should be like pulling his pants up like all the way and like walking over like big boot status and just being like, howdy.
Like he should be like pointing at the sword, pointing at himself, being like, I don't know.
The web will cover all that somehow. It'll be like him pulling his pants, like pointing at his dick, and just be like, wow. Dark and Rahl would act like that, you know?
Okay, yeah. So Richard's, as Dark and Rahl, aggressively approaching Kaylin because he needs to figure out if she sees him as Richard or Dark and Rahl, even though it makes no sense. Yeah. Zed does some sort of magic. He puts his fingers on Richard's neck.
Why are we doing this?
That creates a ton of pain. And of course, we're like, if not for Denna training him to ignore pain, this would have taken him out, but luckily he's so strong now because of his trauma. And then he fucking shoves it.
And then he just gets done describing him as frail. And he just like yeets him.
He
like,
shoves him and he falls on the floor.
Yep.
You're doing a terrible job convincing these people you're Richard.
And this wizard has Fireball and Vulcan Death Grip. That's like the only two things you're giving this guy.
He obviously can do a lot. Maybe you're forgetting his ghost
Can't
parents.
see through this fucking web. Yeah, you're right.
So he
Did the Wizard's Rock ever come back?
He says, "Who do you see me as? Dark and Rahl or Richard?" Which I guess in your mind he's trying to like, I don't know, by saying that see a flicker of something. Because I'm like, even if she was pretending, which doesn't make sense, but even if she was, she's just not going to respond to it. She's not going to be like Richard because what? Anyway.
Yeah.
And then she's like trembling and she can't move and Richard's confused. And then he looks down and he sees that he put his sword up to her throat and he doesn't remember doing it. What did this mean?
It's the anger of the sword.
Right. Is that it? That's it.
But then it turns white, so it's the forgiveness of the anger of the sword.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the forgiveness of the sword.
What's he forgiving her for?
Being a betrayer. He's ready to forgive her.
She didn't even do
That's why this sword is just bullshit. It's just like, I forgive you.
You for something I made up.
My holy gat will just shoot a hole in your head because I forgive you. It's like, what did I do? Sorry. You're forgiven. Amen. You know? Rest in peace.
I just literally it like functions just on Richard's like vague whim he made up.
And he's gonna sell out all life to give this woman a good life in the post-apocalypse Rahl apocalypse, but he'll kill her right now.
I don't know.
Minute to minute, this man's making rash decisions.
I just love that he's ready to forgive her and she just did nothing so far.
It's all right. I forgive you. What? For what? Like, just... damn.
She's bleeding. So far, everything she's done has pointed to the fact that she's not betraying him, and yet he's ready to kill her right now. Jesus. Oh my god, it's funny.
And then she's like, if you harmed Richard, I'll kill you. Which is like the worst threat right now.
Yeah, this is where he has a revelation of sorts. Yeah, she's like, if you've harmed Richard, I'll kill you. She could be acting, but this one he believes. And he thinks he remembered the way she had kissed him. And it was not the kiss of a traitor. It was a kiss of love. He didn't think...
What?
He didn't think he was going to be able to kill her.
How would this virgin know? How would he know?
Well...
How many kisses of the traitor have you had? And in fact, a traitor would be really good at kissing you and making you think it's the kiss of love. He who has no sexual experience beyond the spirit house. What is going on?
It's
not James Bond being like, I've kissed a million women and I know when they're trying to kill me.
It was not the kiss of a traitor. It was the kiss of love. Okay? And...
Okay. Sure.
And now he knew she wasn't a traitor. Like, he just thought about it a little, and he was like, definitely not, because the kiss.
Yeah, and he like slams his sword away.
Oh my god.
But then he reflects in the only thing you needed, because the rest of this was stupid, should have been taken out. He's like, I couldn't have killed her anyway.
I know.
I'm at the point where I was going to do it, and I'm like, even if she betrayed me, I just can't do it.
Good God.
That's all you needed, because that leaves a little bit of ambiguity.
Right. No, that's so true. Yeah, that would have been
That
good.
would have been like, you know what?
I can't even fucking tell, but...
I love her too much. I don't care. If she betrayed me, that's the worst thing in the world, but I can't kill her.
But, like, I just, again,
Would've
to
been fine.
me, the idea of it was a kiss of love is so of the same worldview that thinks you have a worst enemy.
I know.
It's the same thing
I
where
know.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm like, Terry, what
Dara.
life are you living that you can
the
break
life
things
of a
down like this?
violin-making race car driver. And then
So-
Zed says...
Okay.
What? You got something before that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, Richard has a lot of thoughts right now.
Yeah, I just typed, and he says a bunch of shit. So
Well,
go ahead
I'm
and
here to
and
read it.
extrapolate. Yeah.
He said, I'm sorry, Kaylin. May the good spirits forgive me for what I almost did. I know you can't understand me, but I'm sorry. I just love picturing him saying this is Dark Girl knowing they can't understand
and she's
him.
hearing wah, 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 yeah, wah, wah. What do you
Dark-
think Haida Haran sounds like?
Let me finish. Dark and Rahl is using the Wizard's First Rule on me, trying to turn us against one another. He is trying to make me believe a lie, and I almost did. I know you and said would never I know you and said would never betray me. Forgive me for thinking it, which I thought was a weird parallel to the thing with Scarlet, with her being like, I'm so sorry for thinking you were betraying me. Right? Like, is it that was just
double
to reinforce this moment coming or something? Like, I was just like, oh, so the same thing of like, we all need to be like, I'm begging you for forgiveness that I questioned anything ever.
Every possible thing is just a closed loop that comes back and then links to the next thing that's a closed loop.
It's just weird because, like, I guess what annoys me is like, there is a circumstance and a type of relationship and a situation where feeling ashamed of thinking something like that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Scarlet one really doesn't work.
That was
and it's kind of
stupid.
like, just because that is a thing in some circumstances does not now mean anytime in any situation you have a thought about someone that's not true, it always has to have this like equal weight.
Well,
No, it doesn't.
In this, he's trying to make that the case.
Richard should feel
yeah.
far worse about that thought than Scarlet should. Yeah, I could see like a husband and a wife of many years, and the husband's like, I think that she's stealing money out of the bank account.
Yeah.
And he's in a weird paranoid way, and then they resolve it, and he's like, I'm like deeply ashamed I thought that of you, my life
Sure.
partner. That's where I'd be like, you know what, you should maybe feel a little bad.
Take that scenario and compare it to like a woman at work and like the janitor's like moving her purse to like sweep
Yeah,
on
yeah.
her, but she's like, is he going through my stuff? And Terry would be like, same weight.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
the same.
The length of a life and
Correct.
trust put into someone
Yes.
that then gets betrayed.
But, like, that's where I get annoyed, because I feel like he would look at that situation with the couple and be like, it's a rule now. And it's
That's
like,
a wizard's rule. I don't know where yet.
Anytime that happens, you must feel horrible, like that husband. It's like, no,
Like
not,
that janitor.
not really. Not really.
No.
Right. So, Zed, you want to do
Yeah,
what?
said, what do you want? We can't understand you.
I love that.
so
and also,
fucking good.
So here's where I think they should start to get a little suspicious, because Dark and Rahl clearly can speak to them perfectly fine.
Never learned common. Sorry.
Like, why is he only speaking in Haida? I guess you could think he's been doing some sort of crazy spells recently to try and, like, fix this, and maybe he got stuck in Haida.
no, that's nuts.
I don't
That's
know.
absolutely
this
bonkers.
This is nuts. That's not even any more nuts than this. Okay, what do you want? We can't understand you. And then Richard
Yeah.
grabs him by the robes and like violently shakes him and asks where the box is. It's like, my dude, I just think if I were him, I would be like, immediately, once I realize, I'd be like, what is the most bizarre thing I could do?
Yeah.
That would make them think, no way, this is Dark and Rahl.
Yeah.
Not that.
I know.
So then Richard just runs over and starts going through all the packs on the horses, because he's looking for they think Dark Rahl's looking for the box, but Richard also is looking for the box. And Zed's like, look all you want for the box. We don't have it. You're going to die in 4 days. And
Very Richard.
Chase goes to hit him with the mace from behind. And Scarlet blows fire at him to keep him back. And she says, some friends you have.
Marvel ass shit. I don't know.
This is better than the pants.
With friends like this, who needs Raw? I shouldn't have done it while you were drinking. I'm sorry.
So then he's like explaining how the wizard web works to her. And
yeah,
she's like, well, you can't hang out here. They're definitely going to kill you. And which I thought of this like way in the beginning when the High Daharan and this, I was like, have Scarlet talk to them, whatever. Finally, he thinks about it. She tries. She's like trying to explain the web to them, but they like, I guess she sounds like she's saying High Daharan too. I guess. I don't see why that makes any sense, but.
No, it doesn't. Why doesn't Scarlet take them up into the air away from Richard and then talk to them?
Ooh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
See, Terry didn't play enough D&D to come up with these
Yeah,
plots.
there's got to be a radius. Well, actually, no. Zed had like a worldwide radius on his no-name web, on his name blocker.
And yeah, and Richard's daddy web. Yeah, so they're like, whatever. They don't understand Scarlet either. Richard's like, oh my god, I need to get the box. They don't have it.
So he's rummaging around in the horse's packs like a rat, just like
just
tearing
as Dark
like a
and
cartoon.
Raw.
Yeah, just like, and they're like, this is Dark and Raw. That's how Dark and Raw would act.
Maybe if he is absolutely panicked.
Why wouldn't Dark and Raw would just snap and the horses would be eviscerated into like guts, and then he'd just be like levitating the pack. This is how I would run Dark and Raw as an NPC. Like, what are we doing? Terry, like Zedek Zu'l Zarandar, Wizard of the First Order, observes Dark and Raw avoiding roots, running up, going, "Oh, and they're like, "This is the real deal. This is him. This is the guy who's gonna open the box and rule the whole world."
Okay.
And then he's like, ripping through the packs, cursing to high heaven about the Wizard's First rules in Swahili, and like.
But they might not think it's Richard. Why is, because Richard's being a psychopath. He's putting his sword on Galen. And honestly, Zed should be really shooketh by the sword being white, first of all. Second of all.
Yeah! But maybe they don't see it.
Why not?
Because I think there's like a
I don't think so.
filter.
I think you see it.
So you see the sword turn white, which has never happened before.
Maybe he thinks Dark and Rawl did, but he
is
should
the
be
legendary
like,
seeker?
He should be like, oh my god, Dark and Rawl figured this shit out. Fuck.
Of course
anyway,
he would, yeah.
Also though, but Zed should know wizard's webs exist.
He's laid many of them.
But like, well, I guess I should say enemy webs. He'd know that seems not.
That's probably in this like not moderate spell book, you know.
Like if Zed knows of an enemy web being a thing, then he should definitely have figured it out.
He knew the tracker cloud web.
Although I
he
suppose
webbed his own name out of existence.
Extrapolating why Richard would be riding the dragon would be a lot to figure out.
Yeah, so I don't know. Dark and Raw just did ayahuasca and
I
just
don't know.
showed up acting like an absolute lunatic.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Alone.
Again, like them believing it is silly, but like so bottom of my problems.
Fair.
So again, Richard, they don't have the box. He's like, the thing I need to focus on most of all right now is how to get the box. And he knows, boy, oh boy, Brother Michael has that box. So he's like, okay, actually, like my plan, I'm going to go get the box for Michael. Then I'm going to come back, meet back up with Kaylin and Zed and everybody, and I'm going to save them from the Daharan troops, and then I'm going to take Kaylin, and I'm going to fly her back to the magical cave where the egg is, where everyone will be safe, and I'll put her in there, and she'll be safe forever, and that's what I'm going to do, and I really wish I could have seen Kaylin smile. That's what he thinks. He gets on Scarlet. They take back off. Richard's like, we have to look for my brother. He's with an army of 1,000, so it should be easy to find. She's like, I think that wizard web impacted me too. They couldn't understand me. And she's like, it doesn't impact me in terms of how I see people because I'm a dragon, but it might be impacting my language to others.
I wrote sure. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'll bring you to your brother and his army, but like the same thing's probably going to happen with the web. And then Richard's like, I'll think of something. Michael is my brother. I hate everything about Michael. I hate everything about their relationship. It is, you have done zero work to have me have any buy-in in these two's relationship. Michael has not been here or been mentioned or anything in so long.
Every time he has been on the screen, he has been an absolute douche.
It's just unbelievable.
Like a criminal douchebag.
It's unbelievable for me to think that Richard has never picked up that, like, maybe Michael sucks a bit. He could even be like, Michael kind of sucks, but he is my brother and I still love him. No, the fact that we just keep being like, I've seen no evidence of this man being okay in any capacity, and I'm supposed to buy that Richard loves him to the extent that he does and thinks he's good to that extent is so ridiculous. Terrible writing.
Absurd.
It's ridiculous writing.
And it disrespects so many things about humans.
Yeah.
Most of which is like the subconscious.
Yeah.
So like, and we'll get more, but every bad thing that Michael has done to Richard, which there's a list, and I haven't seen a single good one because he's a bad guy. Every bad thing that he's done to Richard is just swallowed. Like, oh, my older brother, I love him. Gee, shucks, golly, even though he's 35 or whatever. When Richard's crying in a heap, getting beaten.
Yeah.
These feelings aren't coming out ever. Like childhood trauma of Michael, like humiliating him and things like that. No, because we're supposed to believe that Richard is so good, so pure-hearted that he never once thought it was bad. And that's absurd.
It's crazy.
You're also so fucking dumb.
Such a disservice to Richard's character
Absolutely.
to place him in this position. But I don't even get the impulse to write it this way. Why would you not just want to round it out? You can even make Michael's badness be as bad as you did, and all you have to do is just balance it ever so slightly with little nuggets of goodness where you'd go, that's just enough to make somebody who wants to love Michael be able to latch onto them and go. And I get that they're gonna be like, he's the counselor of the Westlands. No, I mean like actual human qualities of connection. Like
as if all politicians are good.
I don't know.
Like
whatever. I'm like, just give me something where I'm like, he seems mostly bad, but I totally see where Richard has that attachment. Because right now, I have never been able to see it ever.
Have like Richard have written like poetry in the West, and like Michael's like a big fan of Richard's like just give him some human connection. This book has none of that for anyone. It's not real. Like all the stuff is like so silly, and it's constellated out as just like truth, fact. Where's the people shit? And we need it here if you're trying to do this.
The only time we got people shit was Denna.
Unfortunately,
right?
That is true.
And it's like
we liked it
seems
there.
So weird though to put that as this like big heart at the core of the book and then be like, but nothing else is reinforcing that message anywhere else in the way I'm writing anybody.
I agree.
I don't understand it. And I was comparing to Lord of the Rings, which is deeply unfair of me, but because I was just really reflecting on like the ways you can approach doing evil in stories, especially fantasy stories. And I'm like thinking about it and I'm like, because sometimes it's okay to have the good versus bad, right? And I'm like, I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, this does not work on that level for me.
No.
At all. Like, not even a little. So I was like, okay, what is it about stories that do that I like it, and stories that do that I don't? And I'm like, thinking about Lord of the Rings. So I'm like, yeah, well, for one, all the like good versus evil when it's like really cut and dry. The evil, I've mentioned this before, is always like an entity, a monster, like, again, I'm not expecting the fucking Shadron to be good. That could have been pure evil, whatever. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, Saruman has more complexity and like goodness and badness. Like he has more of that.
Saruman, yeah, absolutely. He's a tragic figure.
Michael. And Saruman is like a much like worse, closer to pure evil character than any of these people really should be.
Yeah.
Like, if you really, I don't know.
Yeah.
The way they're written.
Right.
And I'm like, because he has that like high concept of like, if something's pure evil, it exists like way, way, way up here. It's not a human. Mm-hmm. It's other things. And then when you see a human get as close as they can to being that, first of all, they still have more complexity. And second of all, they're being influenced by now the existence of a source of pure evil that
Yes.
you've presented to
Correct.
us.
Yeah.
In this book, there's been none of that, right?
No.
There's no source of any pure evil that then can like come down and have this influence on anybody. It's all just humans.
Yeah.
Humans,
Yeah,
okay?
we get the
And
keeper
then
later, but yeah.
we
no.
essentially are like doing that, but being like, oh, up here where like Sauron exists, I'm just gonna take a couple of random people
A guy.
and they're up there.
Princess
Some of
Violet.
them, yeah, Princess. That's what I'm saying. And then all these humans are good, and then these humans are great, and it's like it just does not work.
Of course it doesn't. Because Sauron is like, I am willing to take the light of the moon and stars away from all mortals just because I don't like them. And I want to be selfish.
and
Princess Violet is, I like shiny things and I'm a fat kid. They're not the scale, the intensity,
Yeah.
the concentration, totally different. In a story that's dealing with objectives, we have really silly examples of pure bad.
That's what I'm saying. And like, okay, I will even take just Dark and Raw. Like, he's the Sauron, right? Like, we got one guy with this dark lineage, with all this power, underworld magic, right? I'll even be like, oh, maybe that's like affecting him sort of, and it's
Yeah.
seeped into his brain, and they, whatever, unlocked something they shouldn't have. But then, even like going the next...
Yeah, yes, but no. Because Terry consistently tries to paint this as some objective human story. And it's like, that would be fascinating. To be like, Dark and Raw actually is in service of some worse thing.
Yeah.
And it is corrupting him. But no, Terry's like, Dark and Raw is the worst thing that can exist. And then he goes ahead and just paints all these little human bits.
It's the human bits but that's what I'm saying. Like, I can accept like one big bad like that. It's just all these other people that are really throwing me for a loop. Because even Michael being a traitor and willing to sell people out, that's all very like human bad shit.
Yeah.
But why is that the only quality he has?
Because it's a foil to Richard's opposite pure good quality.
I just find it so boring.
These are brothers, and one is so bad and one is so good, and you're not writing a story of like myth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
If you're writing like, yeah, the sun god and the dark god were brothers and they played soccer and like, you know, that story, that's one thing. This, I'm the Chancellor of the Westlands and I'm pure evil. What? Come on.
But like, I just hate the way in which that whole collection of people, it's like the same formula for all of them. The Michael, the Princess Violet, the Constance, the Queen Milena, the Demon. Like, it's just
The
that
court
same,
artist, whatever. Yeah.
like, thing that we do. And again, I just hate it when it comes down to like, my cast of characters are just people. And then you're like, that's an absurd amount of people for you to be claiming have only negative qualities.
I agree.
It's so
Yeah.
weird.
I agree.
Really?
And
All of them,
and
huh?
it's not honest, it's not nuanced, it's not complicated. Like, you know, you can look at like Shakespearean plays where most of the characters are mostly bad, but have
Yeah.
tons of good and human and
Yeah.
and tragedy and all that. Once you remove all that and you distill them too much, it's not believable anymore.
I know, but
And
like,
it fails.
but the problem is like, I don't know that he even wants it to be believable.
What are we doing with Michael?
I don't know.
What are we trying
Like,
to say?
so
It's
are people
insane to expect
reading this?
anyone didn't see it coming.
Are people reading this and going like, I know a guy like that? Like,
You
you think
don't
that?
know a guy like that.
You don't know a guy like that.
Trump is not even this. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Trump wouldn't sell his brother out
Well,
to
maybe
like,
he would, but-
not in this fashion. You know what I mean? There's so like even bad people who are like this, like Trump, are not.
Well, I guess what it comes down to for me is like, if I were to talk to somebody that knows Trump, in his family, a friend, something, and they were like, and I was like, can you tell me like tell me the good and bad qualities about him? They'd be able to probably give me like a long list, and the good side would have a lot of stuff that you could at least go like, yeah, I could see how those things are appealing. I could see how that's charismatic. I could see how that's like
Sure.
what you felt why you felt connected to him, right? Like on a human level, interpersonally. But like, Am I to think that, like, Michael has those qualities, you just chose to never show them
Or
to me?
didn't write them well enough for me to get communicated to me, maybe?
Or am I supposed to be like, no. Unlike these bad people in real life, he doesn't have those. Like, what? Oh, okay.
Everyone would find... It's this bully concept. That actually...
Yeah.
It seems like all of them... All of those characters
yeah.
are bullies in this, like, juvenile-ass
Right.
way.
It's like what you think...
Like the worst person in the world must be like.
What you think a bully is when you're, like, 7 and you, like, see a movie and you're like, oh my god, there's, like, someone at school who's just wholly horrible.
These are the attributes you put on bullies because they were mean to you. And
yes.
And, like, but then you carried that with you your whole life, grew up and wrote stories where you were like, those people are real.
And they're still behaving exactly that way as, like, grown adults. It's very weird. But then is where the bully thing comes through. Like, Scarlett kind of has that. And, like, obviously Denna had that. But then we were like, Denna does it.
We kind of like it. She's kind of good through bullying sometimes.
And I'm just lost on the, like, this, like I said, the center of the book being, like, this, like, reflection on Denna and her behavior. And then to just go back to Michael being written this way, it's just like, what are we talking about even?
I don't know. We would need so much more about Michael for any of this to work.
Yeah.
And we have gotten almost nothing. And the parts we've gotten are insane.
It's like he doesn't trust us that, like, if he were to give us something about Michael that seemed good, even like a little thing, he doesn't trust the reader to be able to still say, okay, yes, but overall he still seems bad. Like, he just feels...
Oh, no way.
Right?
He does
like,
not trust us at all.
He's like, if I give you even a little bit of goodness from him, you'll think we can't condemn him. And it's like, I mean, I don't know.
But that's exactly why every time he's trying to,
like,
make a point, he says things like 4 times. And he does that, like, constantly, where it's like, just let us think a little in your book about thinking.
Correct. Yeah, I just find it weird. I'm like, you could tell me that Michael has, like, a million good qualities, has literally, like, helped Richard out, like, a million times, been really nice to him, and then for whatever reason Michael still decided he wanted to sell the world out to Dark and Raw, and I could still be like, yeah, even though he was good,
that's Saruman.
He needs to, like, go. You know,
Saruman was a pure figure of intellectual advancement for the entire world for, like, millennia, and then got too close to the sun.
But, like,
you know what
like,
I mean?
God forbid, like, Gandalf feels sad about the relationship he now has to have with Saruman. And it's not just like I know Richard does too with Michael, but you feel like with Richard, you're like, this isn't warranted. This is just you being like, but he's my brother, which is like, okay, but that's meaningless without anything else to back it up. When Gandalf's sad about Saruman, it feels like you're really sad because there were good parts to him. And that's the hard part about this. With Richard, I feel like he's trying to get me to feel that way. He's trying to be like, oh, and he's my brother and there were good parts. It's like, where were the good parts? I don't believe you.
In a story like Lord of the Rings, where, like, both Gandalf the wizard and Saruman the wizard are ancient angels.
Yeah.
They give a more brotherly feel than these two actual brothers. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
And we spend, and as little time as we spend with Michael in this book, we probably spend a similar amount of time with Saruman.
That's what I'm saying.
In the Lord of the Rings.
That's what I'm saying. We're not, like, hanging out with him a lot.
It's economy of word. It's like, what were your concepts? You didn't get them across. You didn't do the work you needed to do to get this to hit the way you wanted it to hit.
Why is it so hard to just make Michael bad, but not that bad, and then we still have to do this and deal with this? Yeah. Why is that? What's wrong with doing that? What was better about this approach in Terry's mind?
It felt better in his head to make him a cartoon villain.
Why?
Like, he's like a fat loser, politician, lame-o, sells out his own brother. This is my view of what bad people are like.
Okay, but, like,
they're all doing this. Like, you know, like, I don't...
Yeah, so they go up high to look for the army.
We got an entire paragraph about the majesty of clouds.
We do. So it was this, like, this is where we were heading. All that foreshadowing.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Richard's marveling at how big clouds are. Whatever.
Scarlet's not even that big compared to a cloud. Yeah, whatever.
They're searching. Richard's thinking, like, what will I be able to do to prove to Michael that it's me? And he thinks that if he accomplishes his goal, he's going to have to go back to Westland because he doesn't want to be around magic anymore, but that means he's never going to see Kaylin again, and it made him weak with pain. I was like, this doesn't seem like the time
whatever.
To be
yeah, that's
up.
what I mean. Everything's all choppy.
They find the army. He asks Scarlet, like, oh, can you fly ahead of them and have them not see you? And Scarlet gets all like offended, and she's like, of course I could land us in the middle of them and they wouldn't see me if I didn't want them to, which, like, how? But
I'm assuming dragon magic, but
maybe. So the plan is they're going to land a few hours ahead of the army. They're going to let the army come to them. Then at night, Richard's going to sneak into Michael's tent so he doesn't have to like deal with multiple people seeing him. And Richard is like, and then Scarlet's like, I cannot wait. I have to go back to my egg. And Richard's like, come back for me in the morning. Then, God, she's like, oh, but just so you know, it's cloudy out. And if there are clouds, I can't fly. And he's like, why? And then she's like, because clouds have rocks in them. And he's like, rocks? In clouds? Oh my God. Why is this in this chapter? It basically, she's just like, oh yeah, it's foggy and I can't see the tops of mountains, so I might hit into them.
That's all you needed to say.
Why?
That's all you needed to say.
Why did we do this bit?
Rocks and clouds? No, just, it's hard to see. And I'm flying very fast, and I could fly into a mountain. All you needed to say. Okay, whatever.
So she's like,
Contrivance to make
if
sure.
it's cloudy, she might not be able to come find him tomorrow morning. He's like, fine, I'll just start walking down the main road. I'm going to try and catch up to Kaylin. Come find me on the main road.
I'll hitchhike. It's fine.
He's like, no matter what, if things don't work out right now, I got to get back to the People's Palace in 3 days. She says 3 days from tomorrow, and then I'm done with you. And then he smiles, and he's like, that's our bargain. Okay, they're flirting, whatever.
Or something.
She says she doesn't like the look of the sky. Good luck, and she will return. And then she flies off. As he watches her fly away, he's like remembering the first chapter of the book, and he's like, wait a minute, I think I saw her flying over Westland. I wonder what she was doing there.
Oh, is that just like because he was talking to Michael, probably? I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, correct.
Cool, yeah.
That was
also
just,
him gutting your dad, so I don't know.
That too.
That
yeah,
was
honestly, why is he even wondering? It's like, well, he was running around killing people, including your father, so probably that. He hides in a bush on the top of a hill. He's watching the army. He's eating some meat and apples. And so he's like still trying to figure out his plan. Everything about this, again, is so boring because I feel like the only reason it could be interesting, he like drags this out so much, the lead up to Michael. And I feel like the only reason you could think this was interesting is if you thought the reader really didn't know.
I agree. But the reader knew.
The
reader knew when he like tried to like dry hump Kaylin in the beginning. There's no Michael has been bad since then. It's obvious this is stupid. But
I mean, it's like hard because I'm like, yeah, maybe I didn't know the first time I read it.
I knew.
I don't remember. I really don't remember.
There's no chance I
if
didn't
I
know.
Didn't. But all this is really boring if you know. So he's thinking about writing a note or drawing a map. Like, of course, it's like, I don't give a fuck about what Richard is planning for this because I know it won't matter. Because he doesn't need it. He's like, oh, I think the enemy web's going to change my note or my map.
Yeah, it will. So I don't know. Yeah.
Then he thinks of games they played as children, but he can't think of any because Michael never played with him. Even as a child, Michael was just rotten to the core, didn't even like games. That's how shitty he is.
But isn't this like a kid's interpretation of how bad their brother was when it's like, but it's because you're not thinking about them as a real person?
Terry's thesis to me feels very like you come out and you just are naturally good or bad and it's there from day one. You can't change it.
Meanwhile, I'm reading this like Richard has never actually analyzed what their relationship was really like.
No, evidently not. It is also on Richard where you're like, what's your problem? Why have you never sat down and like critically thought a day in your life about your relationship? You can't care about him that much because you seem to like...
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
And this shit would have come out in Mord Sith therapy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, they never played games together. Gosh.
Bad.
And he only liked play fighting with swords.
Funny, because Richard has the cool sword now.
And, yeah, because Michael just, like, loves violence from day one.
Yeah.
And I didn't think pulling a sword on him would have the desired effect. But There was one thing
Yeah.
that Richard can think of. I had to write it down because it's so ridiculous.
Give it to me.
When they had played swords, Michael had liked Richard to salute him while on one knee. Would Michael remember that? He had liked it done often. It made him smile more than anything else. Michael called it the loser's salute. And Richard wasn't his match in size at the time and hadn't ever been able to make Michael give the salute. But Michael had made Richard give it often enough. He smiled at the memory. Richard smiling at the memory. Though, at the time, it had hurt. Maybe Michael would remember. It was worth a try. That is awful. That's terrible.
This is humiliation fetish.
Yes, easy. Done.
Just bully fetish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And show not tell. This
That's
is
what I'm
just
saying.
telling.
Oh my god.
I didn't see a single fucking thing about your past. Do
oh,
flashbacks, do whatever.
You might have just written, like, Michael hated fun. Michael loved most of all being mean. That was my memory. Okay, and then the smiling thing, Terry, like, really weirdly over relies on this. I feel like it's like this weird amateur feeling writing shortcut that is like supposed to make me feel like sad for Richard, that he's such a smiley Boy Scout and he's smiling at the enemy. Like, I just like hate it. I don't know how to explain it. I was just like cringing every time. I was like, and Richard smiled at the thought of his big mean brother.
Bullying
punching
him
him
for
in
fun.
the face.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, all right, sure.
But he's also the sexy hero licking apple juice and doing all sorts of shit. Like, come on.
I hate this because he's so obsessed with doing the, like, oh, he has this side to him and this side to him and this side to him. And we'll see, because he's going to be like, I'm a seeker now, which is just like Kaylin being like, I'm a confessor. And these things, and I kept complaining about Kaylin's confessor mode and her baby mode being like way too different. And it's the same thing with Richard here, though. Because like half the time he's being like very cool. And then we get him in like baby boy mode here. And of course there's a truth to like everybody having all these different.
They bleed.
That's my point.
They bleed together.
They bleed so much more than he makes them so ridiculously stark, so different. They never bleed into one another. When he's like cool mode, none of this can impact him. His brain is partitioned.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
With the magic. And
I know.
it's like, this trauma of Michael or this is never going to impact that guy. And that guy existing for some reason is never going to leak in and make him a little privy or stand up for himself more with this guy. And
Correct.
like, he just acts completely different. He thinks completely different. He behaves completely different. And it's just not that straightforward. It's a lot more like they're kind of leaking into one another. So yeah, so he's doing the loser salute at Michael, which he loves, and Michael's smiling at it, and that's that. And Richard sees some soldiers ride past with Michael. He's all in white, and they're wearing the Heartland crest on their shoulder. And he's like, oh, those are Michael's personal guards, not soldiers.
Sweet.
And they're riding really fast. And Richard notices the rest of the army's not with them, and they're riding ahead alone. And then he's like, he's a dumbass right now. He's a dumbass right now.
He's just babbling idiot. Yeah.
He's just like, he was worried. And then he smiles in relief, realizing Michael was probably just really worried about him and wanted to come and help and needed to move fast without the army. Like, I just,
Michael's putting his heart over his head.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Wizard's first rule, man. Richard's falling for it. Hook, line, and sinker right
But again,
now.
like, am I supposed to think because Wizard's first rule is like lying to yourself and believing what you want to believe, but magically enhanced? So like Richard is being extra dumb because there's some sort of magic involved now?
That might be interesting, actually.
I know.
But that's not clear, no.
It's not clear to
No,
me
that's not clear.
how that works.
I don't think that it works like that, no.
So whatever, it takes Richard a while because he's like running after them, and he eventually catches up, and they've set up camp by the time he arrives. Richard easily sneaks into the camp. He thinks about like how he's so good at this, and And there are some guards around Michael's tent, but he's like knows how to slip in and out of the shadows. And
I don't know why he's good at this all of a sudden.
well, he said because he's good at like running around the woods, being
yeah,
quiet.
but this is like in a field, so I don't know. Like, I mean, he watched them from the hilltop, so he knew how they set up. But I'm just like, he's like 6 something, and he's just like.
So then he lays down and he's like laying in a shadow next to Michael's tent. He cuts a little hole in it and peeks in, and he's like, oh, good, Michael's alone. And so then he's like...
Mild tarot imagery there, using his sword energy to cut through the veil to see Michael truly for the first time.
Did he use his sword?
Well, he used his knife, but
Okay.
same thing, you know?
Yeah. So he's planning his move, and he's like, he needs to get inside, stand tall, drop to one knee, and do the loser salute before Michael has a chance to raise alarm. And again, like, all of it is uninteresting. 'Cause again, you're like, I know you don't need to do that. Okay.
Every, like, word I read beyond him going in there and doing it, I was just like, get to the fucking point where it doesn't...
What would be the tension in it if you know?
There is none, because I
Right?
knew.
Like, what is it?
Because he decided to be like, he's a rapist, bad guy, dressed like Dark and Raw, wonder if he's bad. The only interesting thing at this point is for him not to be bad.
Yeah, correct.
And yet, here we are.
So he like creeps in under the tent, under the cot, and then Michael hears something. He turns and Richard pops up, smiling at seeing his brother again. And right as he's about to do the loser salute, Michael says, Richard, what are you doing here? It's so good to see you again. We've all been worried.
Michael just speaks with like 47 ellipses too. Like that line was like a whole paragraph in size.
So yeah, if it would be Richard. What are you doing here? It's so good to see you again. We have all been so worried. Did that give nervous traitor?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So yeah, then Richard, oh my god, he realizes it. Michael was the one who had betrayed him. Michael was the one who allowed him to be captured and tortured by a Mordsith. Michael was the one who would give Kaylin and Zed over to Dark and Raw. Michael was the one who would give everyone over to Dark and Raw.
Right, the poison for Cusco. The poison chosen specially to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison.
Yep.
Bad poison.
Yes, that poison.
Got you covered.
Yep.
Yeah. Why? It's not impactful. Stop doing that.
Not.
Stop writing shit like that. You trying to like hit a word count? Like, what are you doing?
So Richard asks where the box is. Michael's like, no, let's have dinner.
Want dinner?
And discuss, which, just like Queen Milena, this is what the bad guys do.
They're always feasting when the
They're-
proletariat's starving.
Every time you come and you need something from them, they're going to try and trick you into eating dinner with them. That's what I've learned.
That's a trap.
I then at that point, I was like, oh, actually, I think this is just like a really boring plot tick of Terry's. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
it means anything.
No.
Other than, although they all are fat.
Yes.
So that
Michael
might
fat?
be. Yeah, Michael's definitely fat.
But he's not like fat, right?
He's fat.
Damn.
He's fat.
Damn.
And
My boy needs to cut cows.
Richard asks again where the box is. And Michael's like, well, actually, Zed was going to give it to me, but then he decided he wanted to keep it, and so he has it, which, like, Richard knows that Zed doesn't have it because he just went there. Then Richard's like, oh, shit, so Dark and Raw was not lying. He actually does have the box.
But why does it mean that?
I know, because Michael could definitely still have the...
It could be in the camp here right now.
You're right.
I was confused. I was like, well, how'd you get it there then?
I guess... I don't know. There's a billion ways they could have got it. Like, Scarlet could have flown him to go grab it from Michael at some point. He wasn't there 99% of the time. Richard was at the People's Palace, so he could have met up with Michael at any point.
I guess so, but then Zed and Kaylin and them just left. They didn't check on the box before they left and be like,
I don't
where
think
did
they
it
checked
go?
that time when we had that little campfire with Brophy and Sidon and everybody. I think that was like the last time they saw that box. I think they like dropped that shit off that day, like the next morning.
All right, so it's been weeks of just like, it's safe with Michael, but it's not. It's
Again, Zed, my man, never just was like, hey, do we trust that guy? That's crazy to me. He has no reason to be attached to Michael.
I would have been putting a bomb web on that box. Like if Michael does a single thing out of line, it explodes his face. Like, sorry. Just
Yeah,
shoot
I don't
him.
know. I guess he's just like, I get it. He's like, oh, maybe it's just like, oh, it's much more likely then that Dark and Rawl has the box. Because
Yeah.
if Michael's working with him, why
Sure.
would he not have it at this point if Michael had it?
You're right. You're right.
So Richard's like really angry and he's like, right now I am the seeker. I am not Richard. I have to make all my choices as if I'm the seeker.
Yep. And then he proceeds to, I think, do a terrible job, but let's go.
Yeah, so then he's so angry, he starts thinking about Denna's braid to calm down, and he's like, again, like, well, that's weird, but whatever works. He says, like, well, as long as the box is safe, that's what counts. And then Michael's basically like, what the fuck happened to you? You look terrible. And he's like, you look like you've been through a lot. And Richard says, more than you could ever know, Michael.
Which is a fucked up thing to say if you kind of know what he's been through. Because you're evil and you sold him out, you know?
Yeah, like, was this supposed to be like the one little moment of like, oh, is he regretting this?
It didn't seem like it.
So Richard sits on the bed, Michael sits on his chair. He is dressed in his baggy white trousers and shirt and his gold belt at the waist. And Richard's like, he looks like a disciple of Dark and Rawl. And on his table, he has a map of Westland. And Richard's like, oh my God, he's selling us out.
Whatever.
So Richard's like, I was in Dahara, but I escaped. And we have to get really far away from Dahara. And I have to go get Zed, Kaelin, and Chase, but you should go home and take the army with you and go protect the Westland. He thanks Michael for coming to help him, and then Michael says, you're my brother. What else was I going to do? I guess I'm supposed to be having some sort of emotional reaction to like
Zero.
how horrible that he keeps saying things like that when he doesn't mean it. I'm just like, yeah, he is a really, really bad guy. So of course he would say that.
It's like the very notion that a brother would betray a brother without any context should be enough. Like that's
right.
the
I know. Exactly.
That's the feeling here.
Yeah, it's just like,
It's
but
just the
don't you
concept
understand?
of-
It's a brother. Like, okay, who are these people? Like, in terms of their relationship, I don't get any. I don't care.
So I guess he's trying to say you should take this at its base esoteric level.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, the tone of everything else is not that way. So now
Correct.
I'm reading it with the brain of like
Yeah.
a regular story, in which case I do need you to do that for me. You need to have
you
it.
need to write. You need to fill it out a little bit. You got to pad it up.
If you want to go pure archetypes, I'm going to need a real different style of writing out of you. I'm going to need this book to be structured in a completely different way.
You can't do it. There's no way.
Of course not.
No.
I mean, it's extremely hard, but
Yeah.
it's sort of like, that's not like even like what most people are writing when you write a book,
And
right?
that's fine. That's true.
But then, yeah, you do. There's a conventional way to do it that makes people care in this style, and
Yeah.
you didn't do it.
No, this is only gonna like hit people who like just that thing just sets them off.
Yeah, I know.
My brother betrayed me. He stole my land. Like I don't, you know, like this is not gonna do it for most people because there's nothing here.
And then Richard says, in some ways, this was worse than if the traitor had been Kaelin. I'm sorry. Given the level of, like, drama you have stated about your feelings about Kaelin, that should not be true.
This is ass. This is just ass.
He had grown up with Michael. They were brothers and shared a good portion of their lives.
You don't need to tell me what brothers are.
He had always admired Michael. Why? And always supported him and given him his unconditional love. I'm sorry. If the way that, when you said that you not being able to be with Kaelin was worse torture than the Mord Sith, Michael, who I have seen that you have like no relationship with, should not be a worse betrayal than Kaelin, the woman who it is worse than Mord Sith torture to not
You
be
haven't
around.
spent more than 4 thoughts on Michael since you've left home.
He tried to throw it in here and there, but like it was nothing. It was
nothing.
nothing. I can't, but you have spent so much time building up how strong his feelings are towards Kaelin.
Yeah.
And you want me to believe right now that he is more hurt that Michael did it? I have no...
It doesn't even make sense. Like we read this whole
Sense of
didn't
this
we just read this whole
relationship.
book where like that's not true?
It's literally not true.
And now you're like, you know, brothers though, right? You got to think about that. It's like I did, and I don't know. You should have thought more about that if you wanted me to feel that way.
We needed more.
Yeah.
I needed more in the beginning of the book. I needed some reflections. I needed to, like, see what Michael was doing. I don't know anything at all.
He remembered bragging to the other boys about his older brother. What are we saying? Why is Richard suddenly 5 years old?
But, like, what? So,
I used to brag about you and you betrayed me.
But here's the thing.
You're 30-something years old, man.
is for
To the other boys? Who are they? I haven't heard a single name of your friends growing up. You were getting tutored in the woods. You were hanging out with Zed, the old man. What friends are you bragging about Michael to? Show me that shit.
Oh my god. But, like,
Old Toby knew that I loved you. I always talked about how cool Michael was when he was, what, 12? What are you saying?
But again, like, tell me what even are these fake qualities that Richard's bragging about? Like, what does Richard perceive as Michael's good
Was
qualities?
he a school counselor? Like,
What does Michael do that Richard felt compelled to brag about him? And then am I supposed to be like, oh no, Michael actually didn't have any of those qualities, but if you're a good brother, you'll make it up?
I kind of think so.
That's so weird.
This is some Delulu thought process.
If you're a good brother, you'll just think he's amazing even if he's not.
Well, that's why he mentions the unconditional love. This is like a weird...
I think it's weird.
This is like how like weird parents talk about
Yes,
things. Like where they're just like, I loved you unconditionally, so you should allow me to like stab you with a knife every once in a while.
Like, I don't know. I'm just like... Yeah, I don't know. If you have a sibling that has some less than savory qualities, you guys don't really get along, I don't think it's imperative that you convince yourself that they're so amazing.
I was always bragging about you. Bragging? Well, Michael's my brother. What, did he win the spelling bee? I don't know.
It would be more interesting if he actually could just tell me what was cool about Michael then. I'm sure...
the other boys?
Stop.
You were bragging about me I was bragging about you to the other boys. You are an old man. You've been having sexual torture fucking fuckfests going on for the last month. You're talking about the other boys? Me and the boys, we used to go down to the fishing hole and talk about how cool Michael was. But you betrayed me.
It's just feels like you're just pulling out the most, like, rote, like, things that you say about brothers, like, and then just be like, that one for sure. Oh my god.
The other boys. I'm done. Yeah.
Okay. Richard's like, I need a horse. I gotta leave now. I gotta go to Kaylin. And Michael's like, I'll come with you. I'll come with you with my men.
Yeah.
And Richard's like, no, I'm so fast in the woods by myself. No, I'm so fast. Don't come with me. And he says, you're first counselor of Westland. That's your first responsibility. And Michael's
That's why
like,
I'm always bragging about you.
and Michael says, maybe you're right. I really was only here to help you, Richard.
It's like, why are we doing this weird little logical trap?
Oh my god. So I don't know why.
It is true. He should go back. There's no reason for him to come anymore.
Correct. Oh my god. This is so long. I don't know why I wrote this all out.
Why did you write it?
Well, I copy and pasted it from somewhere, but
cool.
Because it was so crazy. Richard felt like the biggest fool that had ever lived. He should have known. Yeah, he should have. Yeah.
I knew, so I don't know.
He should have figured it out a long time ago.
Yep.
He remembered the speech Michael had given about fire being the enemy of the people. He should have known from that. Yeah, why didn't he? First of all, that was crazy. Even with Take Dark and Raw out of it, that was so crazy. Nobody dealt with it.
My brother needs lithium after that speech. Like, it's not...
Literally.
What are you doing?
And then, on top of it, yeah. When he started dressing all weird and started talking about that, and
it's
then
a phase.
And then you came to the Midlands and Dark and Raw was like, I hate fire. Yes, you definitely should have put that together.
Yep.
Anyway.
Oh, man.
Kaylin had tried to warn him that first night. Yes, and you're not even dwelling on, she warned you because, like, he also, like, sexually assaulted her. Weren't any thoughts on that? Her suspicions, like, that's what I mean. Like, is Richard a good guy for being like, I am such a good brother, I ignore him trying to rape the woman I love. That's not good.
That's,
Oh my God.
unconditional brotherly love. That's how it feels,
Her suspicion that Michael was on Rawls' side was correct. If only I'd listened to his head instead of his heart. Yeah, you guys leaving the box with the guy that Kaylin thought was working with Dark and Raw is crazy.
Yeah.
And his refusal to see the truth was going to cost him everything. He had no choices left to him now. He deserved to die. There we go. With wet eyes held on Michael, Richard slowly dropped to one knee and gave...
Hit him with that dab.
Oh, that could have been a good thumbnail. Damn it! Yes, he went... Loser salute.
Loser salute. It's like a porn category on Pornhub.
Like, actually, though.
Loser salute porn. I could find it.
Get on your knees and give me the loser salute.
It's like the #1 porn from the Westlands. It's like every year they do the ranking. Loser salute.
Oh my God.
What's the Dahara? Well, it's just Mordsith, yeah. Midlands is like
Right.
old John cosplay.
He gives the loser salute. Michael puts his hand on his hips and smiles down. You remember...
You remember our fun little sexy game?
That was tough. Wait, can we gotta like try this out tonight.
Who's saluting? Is it you? Is it me?
We gotta try the loser salute.
Well, you try it first, and I'll try it later. Yeah, I'll try it later.
It's the only thing that makes him smile. So you remember that was a long time ago, little brother. Little bro.
Little bro.
That was a long time ago, little bro.
You're on the Westlands couch. I don't know. Remember Richard got stuck between those two trees, little bro. And he did the salute all night.
Not so long ago. Some things never change. I always loved you. Goodbye, Michael.
So that line right there fucks his whole thing, right? Like him trying to be the seeker and not give it. I've always loved. What are you doing there? If you're trying to not give it away.
Okay, I mean, I think he was dipping in and out a little bit.
Yeah, so he failed. The whole thing where he's like, I am the seeker. I will not let him know because that will put Kaylin in danger. He's just like,
I
out.
gotta do the loser salute real quick. Yeah, I will say, I thought about this while I was reading it. I was like, was there anything in this that could have made me cry? And I was like, no. Like, genuinely, no.
No.
I know, I mean, you guys heard what the shit that's gonna make me cry. And, like, this was like, no.
Tear count at 2? Is it 2? It's
Well,
Shar and Dana?
actual tears, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So Richard thinks again about killing Michael. He would have to do it with sword anger, not white sword magic. He could never forgive him. For himself, maybe. But for what he had done to Kaylin and Zed, never.
What? Why?
I don't know. We are definitely moralizing this idea of like...
Betraying other people.
Is like...
So this doesn't make sense. This actually, it makes zero sense. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Because Richard saying that you betraying my friends is worse than betraying me.
Yeah.
That makes you a bad person. Michael doesn't care about Kaylin. He doesn't know her. That's your girlfriend from somewhere else. He doesn't care about her. Michael doesn't care about Zed.
Oh,
He's an old man living on a hill in your town. That is not important to Michael. So you killing him potentially on the made up violation of him betraying your friends that he doesn't care about as a metric of anything doesn't work.
Right.
Because he betrayed you. Right. That's the real problem. I can forgive him for that, but I can't forgive him for doing that. As if like trying to tie it to Constance. I know. It doesn't make sense.
Right. No. Because that one was to betray a friend, and it's like these are not his friends.
Your friends? That doesn't make any sense.
Betray my friends.
My friends.
Well, you're supposed okay, yeah. Being there for your friends is so important. So like if you betray a friend like Constance, that's really bad. And then to be a good person like Richard, you also have to like hate anybody who betrays your friends. Betraying friends even if they're not their friends. But here's okay, I really want to go back and reread the chapter with Shota, because she brings this up and is kind of like,
this is bad.
like defending the other side of it, where she's being like, don't you see, like, you just hate me because, like,
of your perception.
Because of your perception, and, like, I am upset with Caitlyn because she was trying to kill me, and if you were my friend, you'd hate her. Like, whatever. She kind of was, like, bringing this up.
Okay, but Richard isn't. So we're not sure which one's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know why she brought it up. I don't know. I still don't really know if I was supposed to think anything about Shota was worth listening to. But yeah,
this system not only doesn't work, it doesn't work in the first place at Richard, but you take it 1 degree of separation away from Richard,
right?
And now everyone's bad. Just they're not owning the hurt to them. That's all this does.
I know.
Richard's saying, you deserve to die for hurting my friend. Michael doesn't care about her. But he hurt you by hurting her, so you can't forgive him. Okay, so now Caitlyn goes, I can forgive you for hurting me, but not for hurting your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just keep doing that, and no one has to own that they got hurt.
No, yeah, that's
and they
so
get
true.
they get to be the Jesus on the cross martyr for all of these things, and never be bad for holding a grudge against you, as long as you hurt someone else tangentially.
Right, because it's like you will always get to go. You always get to go anger magic murder mode, as long as
there's some splash damage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
like,
crazy.
You're like, if you uniquely have only caused harm to me, and I don't know, like, I get it. I get that it's good to have, obviously, like, be loyal to your friends, want to defend your friends. You have this emotional, protective instinct towards them. But, like, it is weird, for example, like, say, Denna, right? Like, so she didn't directly do anything to Kaelin or Zed, so he had the open door to do the white sword magic, because she only hurt him, right? Okay,
sure.
Fine. But it is weird if you, like, were to look back and be like, okay, so who are all these other men that Denna really hurt? And it's like, so they are just irrelevant because Richard wasn't friends with them?
Yeah.
But, like, you could have been in a different circumstance.
And I'm sure 8 degrees of separation, you were friends with someone who was a friend with them.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm like, she didn't splash damage his literal friends, but she did splash damage plenty of other human beings who probably didn't deserve it. But if they're not Richard's friends, they don't matter.
It doesn't make sense, even at that first degree. But once we go outside, the whole thing falls apart.
Like, I get a story, like, in, you know, if it's like Punisher mode, right? Where you're like, oh, I've just taken by passion because somebody did something so horrible
to me or whatever,
to my main people in my life. Like, I get stuff like that. I do.
Of course.
But I do think it is a weird quality for the seeker to have.
Uh-huh.
Because, again, isn't everything supposed to be objective? And I think prioritizing your friend's holiness and goodness over, like, everybody else is not objective. It's like the opposite of objective.
Absolutely.
And so I just don't understand. Yeah, like, I just don't think the station of the seeker, that should be an element of. I think maybe if Richard was just a guy, I'd have less of an issue.
Sure.
Because I feel like maybe a little illogical, but, like, he's not upholding anything.
He's really upholding the truth.
You're upholding so much, and this just seems counter to what it is you say you're upholding.
Yes.
So that's my problem.
I don't get it.
Literally, if Zed is out here, well, maybe not, because, like, I guess Wizard of the First Order, I don't know what he's supposed to do, but, like, just some guy out here who's like, I have a sword. Chase, I don't know, if Chase was like, I really only kill people that come for my wife and kids, I would be like, sure, and you're also just a guy.
Yeah.
So do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
But I have a problem with it because of his role.
Yeah. I agree.
And I don't get
it's not being presented as like, well, he's still new in the role. No, it's being presented as like, he is the chosen one at the role. He turned the sword white. No one's ever done it.
Yeah.
So he's already so far on the path, more than any other seeker, even in the old times.
Richard leaves. Michael tries to get him to stay again, and then, like, Richard looks at him standing in the doorway of the tent, and he's like, he has no intention of letting me leave. And then Michael calls to the guards, and he's like, please stop my brother for his own safety. And then Richard leaps over the bush into the blackness of the night. The guards are bumbling around. They can't find him. Everyone in the camp's looking for him. Michael's saying, catch him, but don't kill him, so we can give him to Dark and Raw. So Richard cuts all the horses' leads. The horses are running around. He jumps on one and off he goes. His face was wet with mist and tears as he ran his horse into the blackness. There it ends.
Yeah.
There it ends.
Yeah.
That was terrible. That was terrible.
That's where I'm at. I don't know. I'm just hitting buttons.
I was reading on my book Instagram, which I'll shout myself out at TCS Books if you want to see my thoughts on other books that are not this one book. Somebody had just read The Fountainhead and they were like writing a review about it. And even that was like interesting in the sense that I was like, God, it just sounds so Terry-esque about, they were talking about how like the characters are not real people and they kind of just behave in these ways for ideas and concepts and whatever. But I'm so curious if I read it, if I would just sort of end up being like, the same way this makes me angry, I'll be like, this bitch makes me angry too. I'm sure yes, but like, I guess I'm wondering, like, is it just as lazy and nonsensical, or would I like hit Ayn Rand and be like, okay, Terry's just doing a poor job of whatever she's she's doing.
I think it's that one.
I know. The way they wrote about it, I was like, it does sound like, I don't think I would agree with Ayn Rand. I don't think it's certainly probably not going to be my favorite style of writing by any means, but like I was like, would I at least be like, oh, I see.
Yeah,
unlike
I think
that's
so.
The Amelia Perez song.
I see.
I see. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was so like, is it just this same level of like like would Michael exist in her book in this fashion, or would it all be like a lot more elevated?
I think it's more elevated because you got to think about like, I don't think these are crazy thoughts and concepts to come up with. I think they're kind of juvenile in a lot of ways. But for Ayn Rand to have stuck around, she had to have done a better job than this.
God, I fucking hope so.
You know what I mean? Because like we're at a point where like, you know, we've read a lot of these Terry Goodkind books. Not a lot of people have in the grand scheme, right? Like, it's not the most popular series. It was New York Times bestseller in the beginning. It clearly fell off a cliff. They made a show. It died. And, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. So it's like, but Ayn Rand is heralded. Like, she's still there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And people aren't going, and Terry, her close contemporary.
No.
So I imagine Ayn did a better job.
Yeah, I am so curious. I need to be, like, very done with Terry before because I can't be having two of these running in my brain.
I know.
It's too much.
Well, at the very least, you won't have to do it at the snail's pace that we do this.
That's true.
Yeah.
I can bust it out.
Bust it out.
Wow. That was exhausting.
Yeah.
It was exhausting reading it. It was exhausting writing the notes for it. And then
talking about it was kind of fun.
Well,
it was cathartic.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Brother,
Me to Michael.
Right.
brother,
When Michael asks you, that feeling when Michael asked you to do the loser salute.
brother,
Oh, God. He is the weirdest writer in the whole entire world in terms of, like, things he can pull off and, like, the level of, like, interesting complexity he does. And then
this garbage,
This.
No, I agree.
What on earth?
He's fascinating.
So weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to eat...
Not chili.
Chicken parmesan. I'm eating chicken parmesan. What are you eating? Pizza?
Probably lots of pizza,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be good.
It's going to be great.
All right. It's snowing also.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the day after Valentine's Day, so extra love,
We
guys.
ate a lot of sour gummies.
Love you guys.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.